Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Before I get to our guest here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. We greatly appreciate it. And also, I'd like to give a shout out to our first ever guest that we had in the podcast very, very long ago. We're at around our 100th podcast. I don't know if this is going to be our exact 100th, but we're getting there. Ethan Teal, our first guest from the Owl Eyes, has just released 2 new songs from his album. You can go and check it out. I'll leave the links down below. Everyone make sure and go and check out the Owl Eyes. But our current guest here is the band Smoke and Mirrors, coming to us all the way from Cincinnati, Ohio. Guys, how you doing?
Great, man.
So why don't you guys go around, introduce yourselves and explain what got you into music and what your inspirations are?
Andrew, guitar. I guess I started piano like back in 3rd grade, and that was really it. And then that segued into guitar and where I'm at now.
I'm Zach. I'm the bassist. I've been watching my dad play bass all my life. I just kind of picked it up when I was younger and haven't put it down.
Everyone, Daglio, vocalist. Pretty much my uncle got me into Beatles songs, and that's how I really got into it.
Brandon, guitarist. I've been a band nerd all my life. Started started playing like recorder and stuff like that in 3rd grade, and kept progressing. And then I got into playing trumpet and guitar, and that's it. You're up.
I'm Ian, and I don't actually play anything. They just really like me. I started playing drums. My dad's a jazz drummer, so started playing drums and moved into guitar and bass, which I played primarily for a long time, and then I just got back into playing drums about 5 years ago or so. Yeah.
That's awesome. So how did this band Smoke and Mirrors come to be? What's your guys' backstory?
Well, I knew Andrew back when he started playing in a band called Atlantis Becoming years ago, and with Brandon eventually, who joined on guitar. They were friends of mine, so probably about almost a decade ago. Right? And Andrew and I were gonna eventually jam, and we finally decided to do that. We got Brandon. He was originally supposed to be our bass player, but it's pretty evident we wanted him back on the guitar. So, and then
I'm from Craigslist.
yeah, he's a Craigslist find. One of those rare instances where it actually worked out.
It was one of those misconnections things.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we've had so many guests. It's like the 4th time that we've had a band on here that's had Craigslist connections when it comes to music, and all of them have worked out. But I always got to say to all the audience members out there, be careful when you go on Craigslist. You never know what you're going to find, but it has worked out for people. So it's one of those things where do it at your own risk. But when you guys were starting as a band, how did the name Smoke and Mirrors come to be? Is there a backstory behind that?
It just kind of came. We were bouncing names back and forth, and somebody had said something related to magic, and it's that old phrase like, "Oh, it's just smoke and mirrors," like no, whatever.
It's stuck.
Yeah,
it's stuck.
We were just throwing meat at the wall at this point, I think, and
Took 12 months almost.
yeah, it took us forever. Like when we went in the studio, we didn't even have a name. We were like, we called it
Counterproductive.
Counterproductive, which I hated.
It's a very counterproductive name.
So when you guys were getting started, was there ever any sort of discussion as to what genre you guys wanted to play music-wise, or did you guys always know that you guys had a certain genre that you wanted?
I think that came very straightforward.
It has a lot to do with Andrew's writing, and a lot of the stuff that
We all knew we liked rock.
yeah. So
But I think getting down to genre, it really started with, Andrew's riffs, and then everyone kind of said, oh, okay, well, we can do that. And there was really not much of a discussion, I wouldn't say.
Well, it kind of goes back to like when we first started, it was Andrew and Brandon and I for quite a while. And then, the casual encounters hit with Zach. And Daglio and I knew each other through some friends that we were playing with for like a week, and I kept this number. I said, "Don't worry, we're gonna put this together someday."
Well, the thing is that they contacted me. This was another project. They contacted me through Craigslist as well. So Craigslist is what binds us together, and so I met Ian there, and then we kind of didn't talk for a while. And all of a sudden, called me up and said, "I got something new. You want to come and check it out?"
Yeah, we had another vocalist before him that just, he wasn't really, he was a great vocalist, good friend of mine, but he just wasn't working out for us, So we decided to part ways, and course, Daglio here, he's a pretty solid dude and good vocalist, and he fit right in. It wasn't really until these two joined the band that we actually found what we were looking for out of our sound. Because I've told these guys a few times, like, I was kind of on the fence about whether or not we were going to stay a band personally, and then these two joined, and pretty much there, it fit perfectly.
That's awesome. Now, Ian, this question is for you specifically. I'm going to go around and ask each of you guys sort of a specific question now. But for Ian, one of the things, I mean, I love talking to drummers. We've had probably, I'd say, bassists and drummers, believe it or not, are probably the two most popular guests on our show when it comes to appearances. But for drumming, I've always kind of, it's the backbone of the band. You kind of keep the beat down. And when you're performing live, do you ever feel that sort of extra added pressure knowing that if you mess up, the whole band could derail? And how do you deal with that?
I mean, there are times where, like, if you're not like limber enough, and your muscles start kind of locking up on you a little bit, that does happen. But I haven't really, unfortunately, I haven't had too many instances of that. Like, in the worst case scenario, like a hi-hat clutch, comes loose or something like that. You just got to keep going, man. Like, you can't stop for anything, and I'm used to playing with a click a lot of the time too, so that always helps just keep everything on point, so really, I mean, just don't stop. You just keep going. If your hi-hat clutch drops, move to the ride cymbal. Simple as that.
And now, Zach, we got our bassist, and I like to put the bassist kind of out there first because everyone kind of seems to think the bassist is kind of like the redhead stepchild of the band when it comes to, not getting that much respect, that much attention. Well, yeah, that might work out then too. We've actually had that happen twice now then where that actually works out. But what would you say, Zach, is the most, like, society-wise, like, when you're average fan, what is the most undervalued part of a bassist in a band?
I don't know. Probably hearing us. You can never hear us.
No, that's just you, man.
Yeah, we get that a lot. We get a lot, because most people don't realize the bass is kind of like the drums for the guitar, where you sort of lay down the beat for the guitar to riff off of. So it's very, very important when it comes to that. And I've always said this, if you were to take out the bass out of some of the most popular songs, they would sound so much shittier. So they're so important when it comes to song structure and sound as well. But now, Brandon, what was the hardest thing for you personally learning guitar when you started out?
When I started with this band, or just in general?
Just in general with your guitar playing. What was the hardest thing for you to pick up when you were starting with the instrument?
Gosh, probably just developing consistency and with hand strength and stuff like that. So it's not only learning chords, it's getting your chords to sound consistently clean every time, and basically just being a clean guitar player. That's what I thought was the most challenging.
Absolutely a huge, huge deal. But now we have Andrew, our second guitarist. Andrew, have you found that having two guitar players in the band has really helped you when it comes to not really feeling as much pressure to get every single note right or to be as perfect on stage as you normally would be if you were just one guitar player?
For sure. He definitely helps fill out and complement the sound, just playing different chord shapes, different spots. Plus then on, a song, he took lead on trumpet and doesn't even play guitar. So it is cool, and then, we're working on some new stuff too to hopefully incorporate, piano, trumpet, and some really cool stuff. So.
And secondly, Andrew, everyone always seems to have their own certain style of playing especially guitar players. Did you find that hard at first to sort of gel your two styles together and make it sound similar, or were you guys just naturally playing the same sort of style of guitar?
Not really. I mean, I think we were definitely a little different, but since we did have the previous experience, in the last band, which we did, it was just me when we started Atlantis, and then Brandon came on. So we did, already have some, experience complementing each other, and playing off. So definitely helped, with this project kind of to, jumpstart a lot of that, that we already had the previous, stuff done. So.
Yeah, that's always great. Now we go on to the vocalist, Daglio. What would you say, or what are some strategies that you personally use when performing live? Because the vocalist, everyone's, basically their attention is almost always focused on you, especially singing. What are some ways or strategies that you like to distract yourself from, or do you just love having everyone, looking at you, or are there any ways that you use to sort of take your mind off of it?
He loves it. He loves it.
Okay, so I mean, Based on the reaction that you got from everyone here, I'm a bit of an attention hog. It's okay. I've been performing on stage since I was 15, so it's been 20 plus years. Every stage is different. You learn to feed off the reaction of the crowd. You learn to read the crowd as you go. You learn what's working and what's not working. I like to think of myself as a funnel. If the guys who are in the band are doing everything good, I can project that forward into the crowd. And so it's a little bit of a little give and take that we have with the crowd. You learn to do it. You learn to get comfortable. I would have to say that the first song that you play live when you're about to play is probably going to be the roughest. It's your make or break. It'll define what the mood will be for the rest of the show.
That's why we're really boring live. He feeds off of us and we suck. So.
So who comes up with a lot of the lyrics of the band? Is there one guy, or is it kind of more of a community effort when you guys each sort of come up with? What's that like for you guys?
Pretty much I've been coming up with most of the lyrics. It does get reviewed by the band, typos and stuff. But there may be some stuff that doesn't go with the rest of the song. I just kind of write as we go, and then we start cleaning it up, or changing it. But I do most of the actual lyric writing.
So what do you use to come up with your lyrics? I mean, a lot of people, sometimes it's like day-to-day interaction stuff you might hear on the news, or I've always asked this, and we've only had one artist ever respond that, yes, this has happened. There's always that movie trope where, the guy's having a dream, and then he dreams up the perfect lyric, and then he wakes up, and he's like, oh my God, I got the perfect lyric for a song, and he comes up with that. Has that ever happened to you? And if it hasn't, what are some other ways that you sort of use inspiration-wise for your lyrics?
That has actually happened to me.
Ooh.
Like exactly that. The way it happened to me. Now for the songs that we wrote for the band, it's been flowing so much just due to day-to-day inspirations. But about 10 years ago, I was having trouble writing a song that I was actually selling to a corporation which I cannot name. Years ago, I was having trouble writing a song that I was actually selling to a corporation which I cannot name. But I had so much trouble with it, and what I did is I put down my guitar. I just went partying for 3 days. When I woke up the next morning, I had dreamt the first verse of it, and that's what ended up being on the song. And then I just wrote the song around it. So that does happen.
One too many white wine spritzers.
Yes.
And are there certain themes that you love to explore more than others, or do you like to sort of have a wide variety of lyrics?
I'd say lately it's been very focused. There's a lot of exploring injustice, anger. A lot of that's coming out with the songs. A lot of starting over again. This band is given me the opportunity to really bring out the best in myself, something that I really haven't had again. So it's like you get to start over, but you start over in such a way that the process itself inspires you. So there's a lot of day-to-day stuff going on that's being thrown in there. There's a lot of stuff that makes me kind of angry in life that I see is happening to people, and I really feel that if I don't talk about it, no one else will.
Absolutely. That's just a great way to put it. And when it comes to song titles, I always love to ask every group that we have on. There are usually two responses that we normally get as to how people come up with their song titles. The first one is that they look at the lyrics they already have written down, and then they just pick some of the best lyrics and come up with that song title. And the second one that is used probably, I'd say about 10% of the time, is that they already have the song title written, and then they come up with the lyrics based off of that. What is your process like when it comes to coming up with song titles? Is it one of the two, or is it sort of a mixture of both?
I'd have to say this album's been a mixture of both. There was one that almost with the first verse written, the song title came out at the same time, and I said, "Oh, this will work." Other songs we've picked out, song titles we picked out from within the lyrics themselves, and others just kind of made sense, but they were put in after the song was written.
Now, what was your guys' first show that you guys performed at as a band? We love to hear first show stories. Where was it at, and how did it go?
We went on tour to Albion.
The tour. Yeah. Now we were shooting our second video for this album, and we went up to Albion, Michigan, and played with another great band up there, which was really cool.
Fires We Started.
Yeah, Fires We
Fires We
Started.
Started.
Those guys were really good. If you guys get a chance to check them out, they were really cool people. And we played this. It was a giant brewery, and it was not designed for sound at all. There had never been a rock band there. And again, we're still kind of in our infancy stages right now. We kind of did the backwards thing and wrote the album and recorded it before we even set foot on stage. So, but I mean, there's not really a whole lot to talk about as far as that show goes. I mean, we just kind of did it because we needed the space for the video, and of course, I think it's your cousin.
My cousin's
yeah,
there,
as his cousin's brewery, and they had really good beer too. So if you're up in Albion, yeah, go check it out. It's good
Plug
stuff.
for Albion. Go and check those guys out. And one of the things that I really was astonished to learn, you guys, if everyone hasn't checked them out already, I'll leave links down below for their music videos. These guys actually come up with some really great music videos. What was your inspiration for some of those videos? And did you guys always think deep down that you wanted to start out with music videos first?
Cool.
I think we got to give huge props to Mr. Paul Cunningham.
Absolutely, and his crew.
For Cool World Photography. He definitely worked the concepts out with us. And some of it was his idea, some of it was our idea, some of it was location based, and then just
the first video we shot, a friend of ours from my work owns a funeral home, so we basically shot it in a funeral home and in the embalming room, next to a dead body, So and the table that me and Daglio laid on, was where dead bodies get embalmed. So it was fun. It was interesting.
Really nice people too, by the way. They were really good people. They were gracious to let us, do whatever we wanted to do there, and even eat sandwiches off of each other and whatnot. It was
Yeah, it was all Paul's idea for the acted portion of that high-low video, so it was cool.
Tate and Blair, they were the ones acting in that. They did a really good job too, man. Those guys are actually part of Paul's crew, and they do the sound aspect of it, and they came into the acted parts kind of on a whim, They did really well with it, I think.
And then we kind of rinsed and repeated the same process for the second video as well.
Yeah.
So does Paul mainly come up with the themes that he wants to elaborate on the video, or do you guys sort of tell him what you guys have in mind, then he just sort of tries to make it work off of that?
I think we give him the location.
Yeah.
That's about it.
A lot of that was Paul's brainchild there. He especially with the first video, he kind of took the reins on writing the parts, and he really did all of the hard work. I think we just showed up and played and sweated our asses off because it was really warm that day. And for some reason, somebody decided to make us wear sport coats and shit.
We wore suits. Gotta wear a suit at a funeral home.
That's one thing that I really like to talk about on here, because we have had bands on here that have done music videos before, and most people don't realize that is a very, very hard day's work, because some people were even talking we had to do 5 takes of a song for every angle, so we played the song dozens upon dozens of times. Does that really get frustrating for you guys after a certain amount where you guys okay, we played the same song 20 times in the past 6 hours? How do you guys sort of deal with that?
Drugs and booze. Oh, that's just me. I'm not speaking for these guys.
I'll add to what Ian's saying, and the second video that we filmed at the brewery, he's actually kind of not too off on that. Is while everyone was filming their scenes, we were trying out the different brews from the Albion.
I had to remain sober for the most part for a change, though, so it was weird.
So I think that helped pass the time. We also Andrew got us some food. He was very nice, and for that first video. So I guess we didn't really get that stress too much from going take over. We were actually enjoying ourselves, and Paul's and his crew worked really fast. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, this is probably my favorite question to ask, and my favorite question for the audience here. And again, this is a question for all of you guys to answer. We have so many guests on here, and I love to ask, what is the thrill of performing live like? A lot of people describe it as a drug unlike any other. You guys practice these songs hundreds upon hundreds of times, and then you're finally able to play them live in front of people. What is that like when you walk on stage and are able to just perform?
It's like astral projection for me, man. In a sense, I'm there, but I'm not. That's just my experience with it. It is like any other substance you could possibly consume. It's where I belong. Next to the studio. The studio is my favorite place, but live is definitely the second.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's a very surreal experience. It's you're there, but you're not there. For me, it just feels like home. Just feels like that's where I can be, 100% genuine as myself.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Yep.
No,
That
that's
sums it
much
up.
says it right there.
So when you guys are performing live, does time seem to speed up or slow down, or is it sort of a mixture?
Speeds up.
For me, it
Oh,
speeds
yeah.
up. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right when you know it, the show's over. You're like, well, what just happened?
Yeah.
We already played our 8 songs.
I think it really just depends. Yeah.
I've heard, it's also depends on like crowd participation reaction. Like if you have a
Yeah,
if you have a shitty crowd, then
Exactly.
the show seems to last forever.
Sometimes it drags on, and by the end of it, you're just like, "Fuck, man, we still got 3 songs left."
So when it comes to your pre-show traditions, do you guys have any? We have some bands on here that say like, oh, we all like to take a couple of shots before. We like to have a few beers, or we all like to stretch. Do you guys have any like band-specific pre-show traditions that you guys like to do, or do you guys just like to try to wing
We
it
like
when you
to
get to
hug
the
and
venue?
kiss each other. No, we don't really. I don't think I don't think we developed anything like that yet. I mean, like I said, we've only played the one show so far.
Oh.
I mean, we're getting ready to come out swinging here. Brandon was just over in Amsterdam for a while in Germany, and ever since we did the first show, we just kind of, Andrew is also getting ready to take off on a little vacation of his own, so we've been kind of laying dormant for right this second, but we're getting ready to come out swinging here relatively soon. So who knows?
Brandon, what was Amsterdam like? I've always wanted to go there.
Friggin' tastic.
Did you go and visit the red light district? Yeah,
I
absolutely.
asked him the same question.
Did he treat you good?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I always say, looking's free, so there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. So now we go to our little questionnaire that we like to do, sort of, where I'm going to ask you guys each, and this is for all of you guys to answer to 5 questions that we ask every guest on the show, or all of our music guests, and we'll get your responses and see how you guys add up to everyone else. So now for our first question, out of all the songs that have ever been written in the history of music, what is one song that each of you personally wish that you would come up with?
Oh, wow.
Steely Dan, Asia.
Yes.
Voodoo Child, Jimi Hendrix.
I say the Czar Mastodon.
That's a good one too.
That's in Spanish.
Gee, wow, that's such a good question.
That's a heavy hitter, man.
No, I'd have
Be a
to
lot more
say,
rich if we did.
I'd probably have to say Lover, You Should Have Come Over by Jeff Buckley.
Ooh, that's a tasty one. What about you, Brandon?
Anything early Grand Funk Railroad.
My personal choice, I'm just going to be a cheapskate and say I would come up with the Happy Birthday song and then copyright it so I could make money every single time that thing is sung. The royalties
right.
on that alone would make me probably the first ever trillionaire. So that would be my choice. But for our second question, out of all the artists that have ever lived, dead or alive, doesn't matter, you can pick either or. If you could perform live for one show with any artist, who would it be?
Jimi Hendrix again.
Claypool.
Oh, Chris Cornell.
See, that's a loaded question.
Any member of Grand Funk.
Frank Zappa.
Frank Zappa. Damn, dude, you guys. Oh man, that's a tough one. Geez, I don't know. Probably Miles Davis. Even though my chops are not even close to that, but yeah, I'd love to give it a shot, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for our third question, out of all the venues on the planet, if you had your pick to perform anywhere on the planet, any venue, where would it be?
The brewery in Albion. Royal Albert Hall.
Red Rocks.
Yep.
I think it'd be cool to play the Hollywood Bowl.
I was going to say the Hollywood Bowl,
Yeah.
too, yeah.
Legend Valley. Legend Valley for sure.
Shit.
Is that everyone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was just making sure because Red Rocks is our most famous choice by far. Coming in at close second is Madison Square Garden. But me personally, I'd go, if you guys know, Slane Castle in Ireland. That's probably where I want to go and perform.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I've seen shows there and it looks awesome. So now we get to the real nitty gritty. This is where bands break up on the podcast. What is a guilty pleasure song that you enjoy that you think that your bandmates wouldn't know that you like?
Oh, man.
The entire first Matchbox 20 album.
Ooh.
Anything by Weird Al Yankovic.
That's right. No Doubt's first album.
Hey, that's not bad though.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know what to say to this.
No, you don't want to say anything to
He's
this.
too
It's a
cool
different.
for this question.
Come on, you got to open up here, Andrew.
I don't know, man.
Right,
I'm thinking.
Harry.
The fans are
Some-
demanding your answer.
Some insane, you know.
Eminem, yeah.
There we go.
I'm sorry. I listened.
No, okay, our two most embarrassing answers by far were one time we had a super like almost a death metal guy come on. He was like one of the most metal guys you've ever seen, and he said "I Want It That Way" was his guilty pleasure song. And then we had another rapper
I
who
can
said,
understand him.
"Yeah," and then we had another rapper come on who said "Bop" was his favorite song. So we've definitely had our plenty share of. But now this is our most controversial question. And again, I have to explain before I ask this question, you are not killing this person, but if you had the almighty power to make it so that one person's music career never existed, like everyone would forget that they ever wrote a song, none of their music would have ever been recorded. Again, I am saying you are not murdering this person. Let's just say that instead of becoming a musician, they've chosen to like become a plumber or any other profession. But if you had that power to do that to one artist, who would it be?
Daglio. No, I'd have to go with the easy, obvious answer. Bieber.
Yep.
I'd say Rihanna.
Ooh.
I'd say any reggaeton artist ever.
Uh,
Daddy, let's start with Daddy Yankee. Yeah.
I could do without ABBA.
ABBA?
I think they're done making music though.
I had a guy on who used to work for the crew with ABBA, and that was a fun podcast in and of itself. But yeah, ABBA, they have a few good songs, but they're completely done now. But it was a fun fact. The dude lived in Sweden too, and they have an ABBA museum in Sweden that it has a 6-month waiting period that you have to sign up for to go to because it's so popular.
what?
Why?
Just to go and visit. I mean, because they're the most famous Swedish band, so I think everyone wants to go and see. So
Yeah, they're big.
There's
big.
so much. There's so
You
much.
need
But
to
our most
as well.
controversial answer that we've had on that was someone said Queen, and I almost wanted to kick them off
Whoa.
right on the show.
Whoa!
I know.
Ow.
They said Queen, and I said, oh, "Do you even listen to music? Like it's
Yeah. No. Yeah,
Even music, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Bieber is actually our second most popular answer. Our most popular is Post Malone.
That's a good one too.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I think it's probably more
Yeah.
relevant than Bieber, but
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
say that's a close second for me. I just really hate Justin Bieber.
Timberlake.
Yeah,
We should throw the Spin Doctors and G-Eazy in there too. You know.
And 7 Marry 3 also.
yeah. Other than
Anybody
Two
that covers
Princes, yeah, they
7
never
Marry 3, I
really
should
did it.
say.
They never really were part of my whole scene, anyways, either. So when you guys are performing, when you guys are in front of crowds, what would you guys rate as a successful show? I mean, I know you guys have had one show, but just from all of your guys' past music history, I always like to ask, do you judge a good show based on if you played well or if the audience reacted positively? Because there are some shows that obviously everyone has where they just perform like shit, but the audience still has a good response. Do you still consider that a good show?
If there's more than 3 people there, it's a good show.
I'm gonna second that and say that I think it's more about if the audience has fun with us. I really don't care what we did on stage as long as we all had fun together. You know?
Yep.
Audience engagement.
Could have played half the song.
That
wrong,
is
as long as
definitely
they
the
love it.
audience.
So
Yeah,
are you guys working currently on any new music, or are you guys just sort of practicing? What are you guys up to right now?
Well, we've been on a hiatus for the last few weeks, with a couple of band members doing their own thing and recharging our batteries. So at this point, I think we're kind of doing a mixture between, getting back into playing our set so we can go out and start playing live, and also, writing a couple more tunes as well. Try not to overburden ourselves with the writing process while we continue to do what we need to do to get this out live as well. So,
Yeah.
Are there any venues or any shows that you guys are currently planning?
not yet.
Not yet, no.
Red Rocks.
Call us, guys. We need shows.
Hey, I've had some promoters on the show that I can send you guys their information after we're done recording this for sure. I love setting up bands and hooking bands up. But I always love this question is going to be specifically for Daglio. I always love asking people to come up with songs. What in your definition constitutes a good song? Is it sort of a good melody, a good beat? For me personally, like I just think a good song is something that can stick in my mind. It can stay with me. But in your definition, when you're trying to like listening to a song, what constitutes it being good?
So I'm going to go on a different, parameter than the ones you've mentioned here, and say that to me, a good song has to leave you with some type of message. Every good song any song can have a catchy melody depending on the audience and the person, the style of music or the style of the person that's actually listening to it. You know, everyone's got their own genre they like. but I think that the song is most important because it leaves you with something, because it leaves you with some type of message. Like when you try and explain something to your buddy late at night and you want to get the point across, and then you have to bring up that song to be able to see, how to express your point. I think that is what makes a great song.
Yeah, absolutely. Spreading awareness and all those messages are so important too when it comes to the songs. And now I'd like to ask these two final questions here before we sort of wrap things up here. And these both are questions for each of you guys to answer. If someone were to come up to you on the street and just say like, hey, I'm really thinking about becoming a musician, or I'm really thinking about learning more about music, maybe forming my own band, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give that person in order for them to have fun and, be successful in that they enjoyed what they did?
I'll take this one first. Remain humble and don't ever stop learning from everybody around you. It doesn't matter their skill level. I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that, it's not a competition, man. And everybody does something a little bit differently. And there's no, in my opinion, no such thing as, oh, well, somebody's better than me or somebody's worse than me. Everybody's got something to influence you by, and just be humble and just listen to your peers,
I'd say if somebody's thinking about starting music, I'd say do it. It's never too late to start. Never ever. And just ask other musicians. You'll find help easily. Just don't be afraid to start. Do it.
I'm going to go off a little bit about what Brandon said, and just if you're going to start something, be consistent at it, because Rome isn't built in a day. You're not going to be the greatest musician from one day to the other, or going to be the greatest band. It's going to take time. So as long as you're consistent and keep at it, go for it.
Be patient with it.
Yeah, practice is probably the one that we hear a lot too. Now, if you were to go back in time and talk to the 18-year-old version of yourself, what would be the best piece of advice you would give him?
Don't marry the first person you married.
Take more singing lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah, take some singing lessons.
Take lessons in general.
Take music lessons.
Then I wouldn't need that guy.
Ryan, can you feel the love?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You guys definitely have that special bond that that with the jabbering and everything like that. That's how you can tell that a band really does like each other and they're not just there just for the music. And that's something that I really like to see. But you guys are also from Cincinnati, and one of the things that I discovered, I'm about 15 minutes out of Minneapolis, and one of the things that I discovered is that there's a huge metal scene there. That's probably the dominant genre in Minneapolis. I would have never guessed it in a million years. But being in Cincinnati, what would you say is the dominant genre of music there?
Jam bands. Yeah, we also have
metal.
Yeah, we have a pretty. Cincinnati's got a really great music scene, man. There's a lot of diversity here. I mean, we've got a lot of really good post rock bands. A lot of good modern rock bands that are friends of ours. Metal. I mean, Cincinnati's like one of the least. It's a little kind of a gem. A lot of people don't really know that about us, but we have just such a great scene here.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a really great scene here, man. A lot of good people, a lot of great bands.
Are there any bands in particular that you would want to give a shout out to?
Any bands in particular?
Yeah, down here in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Lift the Medium, Dear Agony,
Analog
Victory,
Analog Bandits. There used to be a band called Expeditions. I don't know if they're playing anymore, but those guys were absolutely amazing, man. Jacob Fox just kills it on the drums, dude.
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone go and check out all those bands too. And where can people find your guys' music? Do you guys have it on everything like iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, all those sources?
Yes.
Yep.
All of the above.
All right. Absolutely. And you guys, Smoke and Mirrors, we can't appreciate you guys enough for coming on the show. Everyone go and check out their music. Go and check out their music videos as well. I'll leave their YouTube channel. I'll leave all the links to all their videos down below, all of their music. Definitely check these guys out. I really enjoyed listening to some of their songs. They are going to be a band that I think you will be hearing a lot more about in the future, for sure. So before we wrap things up here, too, I always like to ask for just our final question. Where do you guys see yourself in 1 year? What is the goal?
Oh, I definitely will be performing more consistently and possibly putting out another record. Maybe.
Yeah. We're still gonna do the record sort of process here with what we've done so far and just playing shows and trying to get our name out a little bit more. And I know we're going to be featured here on the 27th on one of the bigger radio stations in the city too. So, I mean, just mostly trying to spread our music out a little bit and seeing what happens.
That's awesome. And then it brought me up because you were talking about radio stations. I always love to ask, what was the process like getting you guys to go on a radio station? Because a lot of people describe it as really, really hard. What exactly did you guys go through in order to get on that radio?
It's an the one we're doing just an all request day. So, yeah, but everything it's all registered. We have our ISRCs and stuff, and we're all copyrighted. So at least we did it the right way.
Yeah, the WEBN thing it's kind of a charity thing as well. Like you
raise money.
You raise money for you raise money for cancer, and you call in and you donate money, and you're able to request whatever songs you want to hear. So we were able to raise a bunch of money up to kind of go for the cause and also help spread ourselves a little bit.
Well, adding to that, what just really helps us with the radio stations as well is we have content that we have ready to go. Some bands, I know that they may struggle with just not having videos and having stuff recorded. I guess that's the big advantage of having done it the way we did it.
Yeah, funny to check out.
So what date and time would that be happening for anyone that's listening in the Cincinnati area?
October 27th.
Yep.
All right.
And I'm not sure what time.
All right.
Hopefully right around 4:20.
Yeah.
Okay. So everyone on October 27th in the Cincinnati area. And what radio station is this?
WEBN.
WEDM. So everyone in the Cincinnati area, October 27th, WEDM. If you aren't doing anything, make sure to turn it on and listen to the radio. And if you hear a song from the band Smoke and Mirrors, know that you guys heard it here first. And again, links down below to all of their music. I highly recommend going and giving these guys a listen. And this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the Spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.